Do You Like Horny Bunnies Complete Collection is a remastered version of two early 2000s eroge from developer Zyx. Several Zyx games were among the early English visual novel releases from G Collections. Even though I hadn't played the original version before, the styles evoked a comfortable feeling of nostalgia. Do You Like Horny Bunnies begins with the protagonist Yukari bemoaning his effeminate voice and appearance, often making him mistaken for a girl. However, this confusion lands him a job interview at Platinum, a high-end Italian restaurant whose gimmick is that the waitresses all wear bunny girl costumes. This sounds like the setup for cross-dressing hijinks, but sadly for Otoko no Ko fans, the manager decides to hire a male waiter. Oh, and she also takes his virginity, in case you weren't sure what kind of game you were getting into. As the game continues, all of Yukari's co-workers throw themselves at him until he eventually chooses one to date. There's no plot to speak of aside from the abruptly resolved conflicts at the end of each route, and the characters have little development beyond their kinks. Still, the fact that they already know what they like, even if they have little experience, and see Yukari as someone to play out their fantasies with is a fun, positive, lighthearted dynamic. In Do You Like Horny Bunnies 2, protagonist Kazuma is a sommelier who's offered a job by his married ex-girlfriend, the manager of another branch of Platinum. This changes the character dynamic somewhat, with Kazuma being older than most of his co-workers instead of their peers. The female characters get even less introductions than in the first game. Still, the structure and the content are much of the same. Probably the best part are the cameos from the cast of the first game, where Yukari actually gets a voice, but that just emphasizes how much less interesting Kazuma is as a protagonist, even by the low bar set by the first game. Both games are focused on H scenes with up to 8 per heroine, although individually the scenes are quite short. The art direction is rather simple. For example, in the first title, only one character sprite appears on the screen at a time, making group conversations feel disjointed, and in both games, the H scenes don't use techniques like zoom and cutaways to give the scene a sense of progression. Instead, the CG will often start in the middle of the action, while the text is still catching up. There are a couple of animated CGs in each route, which adds a nice bit of variation. The worst part of the H scenes though are the terrible sound effects. I'm not sure whether to blame the writer or the translator, but the onomatopoeia in the text is often hilariously unfitting. Chomp chomp is not an appropriate blowjob sound unless you have very specific kinks. But if you can tolerate that and have a taste for exhibitionism, threesomes, and lighthearted workplace sexual harassment, you should have an enjoyable experience. The artwork in Do You Like Horny Bunnies Complete Collection is remastered from the original resolution to a new 1280 by 960. Not only can you play in full screen on modern high resolution screens without it going blurry, but the edges of the sprites now look much more neat and clean compared to the pixelated black outlines in the original. The text also remains crisp at a high resolution, making it easier to read. The game has been ported to Ren'Py, which makes for easy cross-platform compatibility. The menus emanate the look of an old-school Windows system, which is a neat touch and adds to the nostalgia factor. My only nitpicks with the port are a confusing typo on the load menu and the lack of a skip button in the menu bar, which relies on you knowing the standard Ren'Py keyboard shortcuts. Compared to other eroge at the time, Do You Like Horny Bunnies 1 and 2 don't really stand out. They're worth playing more out of nostalgia or historical curiosity than on their own merits alone. Still, the fact that the remastered version in Do You Like Horny Bunnies Complete Collection runs so smoothly and looks great on modern systems at a budget price makes me inclined to recommend them over similar visual novels. Noisy Pixel is giving Do You Like Horny Bunnies Complete Collection a 7 out of 10. Thank you for watching. Please read the full review at noisypixel.net. Noisy Pixel is run by a group of gamers who work hard to deliver news, reviews, previews, and more. Please subscribe to keep up with all our feature content.
Noisy Pixel.